Well, I think we've been vindicated on the referendum issue. There have been other countries that have taken exactly the same line as a result of them looking closely at the question as to whether minority rights should in any way be subjected to referendum processes. It's considered, I think, by most countries today to be an unacceptable way to proceed.
Okay, you will have seen that the Bishop of Gibraltar, the incoming bishop, has said that marriage for the Catholic Church is a union of a man and a woman, and that same-sex partnerships are just that. He doesn't like the use of the term marriage when it comes to same-sex relationships. What would you say to him?
I think we have to be generous in a democratic society. It takes a lot of give and take in any society for there to be peace and prosperity. And I like to think in terms of generosity rather than pigeonholing people in particular slots. I'm perfectly happy with the Catholic Church and all the various denominations, religious denominations, being able to determine for themselves what their attitudes are and what their internal responses are. There is no impingement on that whatsoever. I would like, however, for us to exercise a little bit more caution when speaking from a public position, because words do have an effect on people. And what we're really trying to do in Gibraltar is establish a prosperous and democratic society as we go forward.
So you think that Monsignor Zamit has spoken out of turn?
I think Monsignor Zamit is speaking to his congregation, and that's perfectly fine. I would, however, prefer if all of us, including myself, are more measured in the way that we approach social issues in Gibraltar. And as I've said in our press release, I think it's important that we listen to each other. And I've extended a hand of dialogue, an invitation for all the churches and all the religious denominations to be able to dialogue with us and we with them, and listening to each other in understanding.
Okay, there are some safeguards built into the bill, as you know, for precisely people who might object to having to marry a same-sex couple. I believe that ministers of religion will not be obliged to carry out a ceremony in a place of worship, as the bill stands at the moment. Is this something that you are happy and relaxed about, or would you perhaps in due course in the future say that this is discriminatory? Because if a heterosexual couple can marry in church, maybe a same-sex couple would want the same.
Look, Equality Rights Group has, from its inception, been across-the-board committed human and civil rights organization. One of the more fundamental elements in human rights is the right, freedom of expression and freedom of conscience, and that includes religious liberty. We will stand shoulder to shoulder as an ally of the religious communities in Gibraltar. It is part of our role as a human and civil rights organization to do that, and we make that very, very clear. Any impingement on the rights of the religious communities is an impingement on all of our rights, and so therefore we cannot make distinctions of that sort. I'm perfectly relaxed with the idea that religious people and religious communities and denominations in Gibraltar should make their own decisions and make their own attitudes known with regards to doctrine and with regards to practices. That is not something that anybody is going to interfere with, least of all a human and civil rights organization such as Equality Rights Group. Again, perhaps this is part of a misunderstanding on the part of the religious in Gibraltar. And I again extend an invitation to sitting down in dialogue and stop recriminating each other mutually and stop condemning, because all that leads to is misunderstanding and a lack of internal social peace, which is what we should really be aiming for.
Okay, Mr. Alvarez, so for the sake of clarity, you're saying that there's no possibility that in X number of months or years, ERG will campaign for priests or for other religious ministers to have to marry a same-sex couple in a place of worship?
None whatsoever. That I can be absolutely black and white clear on. There will be no impingement whatsoever on the rights of the various religions to make their own internal decisions. That's another matter with regards to whether there are religious people within their own religions, within their own churches and mosques and synagogues or whatever, to be able to raise those issues as followers of that religion and to battle, as indeed they already are, within the Catholic Church, within the Anglican Church, within the Methodists, etc., etc. There are already groups that are saying, look, within our own internal religious perspective, we believe that this position is wrong, and to fight it within that. That is not something that we, as an organization working for human and civil rights, will be interfering with, because it's not our role to do so. But we cannot stop faith people themselves being able to discuss internally the way that their own religions should evolve.